Ugh, there were just so many gunshots just now. Like 20 gunshots. Machine gun fire like a block away. Great. So, yeah, there could be more of those in this video. Hopefully none of them ripping through a wall and into your host. Albuquerque. And I'll tell you, I am just so over getting a phone call and my phone just hanging up. I would choose continuing the video over taking the phone call every single time because I'm a professional. Haha. Interesting. It's weird. I see the numbers for my videos. The ones that do the best are about 20 minutes long, but on average, people only watch 8 minutes of them. They're like, we'd like you to have a certain length to your video, but we're only going to watch half. I don't know. But, maybe it's fine. Like, also, there's like averages. I bet a bunch of people are just like 2 seconds, Books. I hate books. And they click off. And then and then maybe the rest watch it to the end. Yes, this is what I would tell myself. But also, who cares, man? I had a dream once about throwing a bunch of books that I had written into like a black hole, into an infinite void. And ultimately, that's what it all is, It's basically nothing. At most, it's, crystals on the wall of the vast, holy, cathedral-like place that is the universe, I mean, like literature, there's a lot of hype around it because the myth is beautiful and it's great. And it is beautiful to think about art across the ages, et cetera, et cetera. But it's all made by a bunch of people and it's all finite. And unless we discover some crazy different technologies to save information for big blocks of time, it's all very ephemeral. I'm always like, when I read something that's 100 years old, I'm like, it's cool, this is 100 years old. Like, I'm kind of learning something about England of the 1890s, reading Sherlock Holmes. Each one of those Sherlock Holmes stories seems to kind of reference a different place, or like in one, they all have lots of purple and blue ink. And I remember Dickens writing about purple ink being really in fashion because it was suddenly available or easily available or something, or existed. In one, Arthur Conan Doyle references the KKK. They're the villains of one of them. And this American hate group, basically. I once found myself trapped in a car with a couple of Klans members, 3. It was my friend Dakota. We paid some kids we met at a gas station to give us a ride somewhere. And they were like all super into being Klans members. And the grandfather of one was a Grand Wizard of West Virginia or something. And I couldn't keep my mouth shut, and I got into a really big argument with them. But they had guns. It was pretty creepy. They were getting threatening and mad and stuff. Like, they were disgusted that we didn't take pride in race, And I'm like, what did I do? I just was born, man. I'm like, why not be proud of being a North American or something, or an American even? Like, like you have some national something, make your place. I don't know. I'd be less scared of that. Nationalism can get scary too. Nietzsche said, if you get too into the myth of yourself, you become a death cult. Talking about countries, getting too enamored of your own history even. To really fall in love with a historical narrative is to embrace a myth, kind of, usually, on some level, even if the myth is true. And like, how much pride should anyone take in anything, like, I'm a historian of place. I've written so much about Albuquerque and central New Mexico and the Sandia Mountains and New Mexico and the Southwest. But ultimately, like, every place is interesting. No place is really better than any other. There are bountiful lands, though. I mean, when you find yourself in a really green, lush place, that's like very special. But I think the desert's special too because it's a place outside of places, and all the mystics go to the desert. All the holy, crazy people. Sorry, it's been almost 5 minutes. I realize I have not pulled a book off the shelf. Gunfire rattles me. I have PTSD from my house being shot up back in a different location than here, back in 2022. And my daughter got shrapnel from it all on her back and was the target of it. They were trying to kill her. And she had dated this psycho idiot. And he'll probably find this video and this will get me killed. Great. I don't care. Dude, you suck. You know who you are. fact, his name's Matthew. Yeah, dude. Ain't afraid of you. Maybe I should be, but you know what? Life, death, it's all the same. Existence, man. Anyway, my daughter had dated this guy. He turned out to be an abusive psycho. She broke up with him real fast. He was connected with this trap house down the street from us. It was like a total drug house in an otherwise nice neighborhood. They always brought violence and drugs and guns and all sorts of idiocy to the neighborhood. Previously, there had been a couple of houses like that. There was a house next to us that was empty, and it was like a crack house, flop house for a while. And it was just so sad. Kids had written on the fridge in there, "Mom, please come home. We're so sorry," in permanent marker. I explored it when it was abandoned later. And when we first moved into that neighborhood, we met our neighbors because a gun was found in the street. Albuquerque is a little crazy sometimes. Anyway, so this stupid house on our street attracted this guy to the neighborhood. He dated my daughter briefly in like February of... There's more gunshots. Or someone's knocking. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, that left... after my daughter broke up with this guy... Sorry to tell the story. It's just background for that other thing. After she broke up with that guy, he must have turned 18 and been initiated into a gang. And, you know, I just want to repeat that this guy really sucks. And so apparently as part of his initiation, he had to come shoot some house up or kill an ex or do something. But it seems gang connected. He had just graduated. And then he drove by our house at like 4 a.m. in June of 2022, shot the whole front of the house up. And the bullets went through 2 rooms, both the bedrooms of my kids. They had one room for each of the 2 kids. This is in suburban Albuquerque in the Northeast Heights. And my daughter Sonora wasn't home, but a bullet went through her wall and into her pillow and through her mattress into the floor and the walls. Like, she would have been killed if she'd been home that night. She was on a trip, fortunately. My daughter Anodyne, she was... luckily, fortunately, everything sitting up in a corner that was outside the diagonal that the bullets went through. The bullets went right through a poster of Queen, of Freddie Mercury. She always talks about that band saving her. And through a framed photo of a house with trees growing through it. Framed print. It was like very poetic and dark, and it gave us all PTSD. Ugh. And Anodyne got shrapnel in her back, and she was screaming that night. We just seemed so unreal. But anyway, we all got messed up by it. And then there were 4 other additional events at that house involving all our windshields getting smashed and tires slashed. And just these jerks from this house were like terrorizing us. And in the last incident, February of 2024, all our tires were slashed, all of them. Or enough. Actually, I think in some cases it was just like 3 tires, so that it messed the whole like chassis up, you know. And what the hell? And windshields were smashed, and front windows were smashed. Cats went screaming and running through the house, all terrified. And it just started. That like brought the PTSD into my life for real. Everyone had had degrees of it before that, but like I think I have a gluten allergy now because of it. Like they said it was probably caused by some trauma. The doctor. She's like, it's either from COVID or do you have some other trauma? I'm like, yeah. And it kind of dates to right when I got mysterious medical symptoms. Around June of 2022. Ugh. Anyway, nightmare story. Way to kill a conversation for years, by the way. Nobody knows what to say after you say that. Like, oh, you should move. And if you're like, well, it's kind of expensive to move. You know, and it's complicated. Anyway, books, right? So... that is why I did not like hearing those gunshots earlier. They like have left a lasting effect. I'm not in the worst of the PTSD effects these days, but it's still unpleasant, nor do I enjoy fireworks. Oh, and when all that was going on, it involved kids too. They had these little kids that were doing the windshield smashing and tire slashing. Oh, it's a whole thing. Sheesh. So like we were in a gang war and children were helping fight it. Give me a break. So, you know, Albuquerque, And lots of things happen because of that. Here's the tale of the Genji. I want to read this so bad. Why haven't I not read this yet? Answer, it looks like a couple month project. That's why. But I will read it. This is like this classic, I think like 1,000-year-old novel. Celebrated as the world's first novel about a prince. Translated well according to the book flap. Yeah. This is like one of those world classics. You need to read this. The Tale of the Genji was written 1,000 years ago in Japan. That's incredible. Switching gears to someone a little more modern. Leslie Marmon Soko, awesome Native American author in New Mexico. Connected to founding New Albuquerque street namer Colonel Marmon, relative. Yeah. She's incredible. She gets compared to like the greats, to like Toni Morrison, to all kinds of, just if you're a good writer, she gets compared. I hear her talked about in the same conversations as Cormac McCarthy all the time. Saguaros are so synonymous with the desert. They're always used in desert novel imagery. But they don't grow that many places. The Sonoran Desert, that's it, in Arizona and Mexico. I really enjoyed this book back in the day. I wonder how it's aged. Generation X. I could claim the last year of Generation X if I wanted to. I was born in 1979, right on that last year. And there are certain elements of my personality, like being generally defeated and hopeless sometimes, that I could probably pin on that generation. But I'm really an Xennial, because I'm in that little gap between when, kids with an analog childhood but a digital adulthood. But this is an interesting book. It's just people standing around and talking. It's very much like other slacker culture of the time, like Reality Bites and things of that sort, which is a good movie. This was left in the sun in a weird way. It looks like there was another book sitting on top of it. But this is interesting. It's got little asides. It felt very hip and cool. I remember reading this in the 90s, just like, this is a neat thing. It did feel groundbreaking, just like, maybe art can be this like casual expression of just being a person in the world. That's, and interesting time. Generation X, a reactionary generation, but I think it's probably good that subsequent generations are cultivating more optimism, maybe, hope, activism. Not all of them, huh? I like to buy a literary journal once in a while. I like to know the places I can submit my work, but I got this one because it has a piece in here by Suzanne Rivica. And she is such a good writer. I feel like when I started reading her work, she had a piece in The Sun also. And I know I've read it elsewhere as well, online, etc. She does these really experimental approaches in her work. Like she'll do nonfiction, but like she wrote a nonfiction thing about her school and people like with eating disorders at the school, but she used first person plural. She was kind of able to claim the experiences of everyone at her school and wrote it in this vignette-ish, interesting way. And she always plays with approach and point of view and tone and structure and form and just all the different aspects that I feel like, who else is thinking about this stuff that's bugging me so much, trying to make it right in my own work. So I think I'd like to read a collection of her work sometime. But whenever, I don't know, it's interesting to become a fan of artists that aren't like super known with a ton of books yet sometimes, but it does happen once in a while. When you just read good work, it's really good work. And then that name is in your brain, usually, Jonathan Franzen, The Corrections. Matt Taibbi kind of hilariously wrote about reading this in Abu Ghraib when he was like there writing a story on it in this like infamous torture prison. And he was very negative about this book, but I don't know. He's one of those writers that goes in and out of favor. But look, he's got a quote from David Foster Wallace on the back here, who I've come around to as a writer and I like. That movie, The End of the Tour, helped me like him more. I didn't always like his stuff. Funny and deeply sad, large-hearted and merciless, The Corrections is a testament to the range and depth of pleasures, great fiction words. This is in the paperback case, so I'll read this when we get to that. I've always meant to read Franzen. I read a collection of his essays, and it was well enough written that I've remained interested in him as a writer. Oh, this is great. This is in my screenplay collection, which, you got to have screenplays. If you write screenplays, you have to have screenplays. You can read all the screenplay books in the world, but if you don't know the form and haven't seen it and looked at it, you might be making something weird. I wrote a screenplay in high school without ever having seen a screenplay, and it's really weird how I formatted it. Looking at it now, sometimes I'm like, huh, that's. I guess you're just trying to figure it out. It looked more like a play with the name on the side and a colon. But yeah, if you don't know, you don't know. But I had the unique experience of reading all these screenplays and then watching most of the movies in here, all the ones I could find streaming for free anywhere or available to me. Silver City, Sunshine State, Passion Fish. Passion Fish is such a good script. And I know it's a good script because like I was moved by the script. I was like, I teared up, I laughed, got really involved in that script. And when I watched the movie, it was also a very powerful experience. But like I'd already had that with the script. It's a very strong script. Silver City is excellent. That's a really good, unappreciated John Sayles film. John Sayles characters always sound like John Sayles to me, but he's always got a lot to say. And he researches so much, and is just a great, interesting filmmaker. I love Limbo. That's probably my favorite of his. But yeah, give yourself that experience of reading a screenplay sometime, and then after you read it, watch the movie. Like, it's just it's cool. It's really neat. I think screenplays deserve, I don't know, they kind of bring a little imagination to movies. If you read a screenplay, you kind of get that bookish experience a little bit of getting to picture it your own way to some degree. And like you're the director reading it. How would you frame this? How would you do it? Because there's usually not that sort of direction in it. Anyway, it's so weird. After I read this, I looked up John Sayles, and he was traveling through New Mexico and tweeting about it all the time. I'm like, what the heck, man? Psychic summoned this fella. And I got this because I really loved the book that Stephen Millhauser wrote called Martin Dressler, The Tale of an American Dreamer, about an infinite-sized hotel. And also, the stories in here sound incredible. I went completist on Millhauser after I read that and got some books. Again, my collection used to be much bigger. I got rid of more than half. And it's not, and I don't regret that. I mean, sometimes parts of it, yes, I do. But what do? You don't need that many books. I'd rather read the ones I have. But I am noticing things missing. There's this one in here that's like, I think it's about a cartoon character, like in a printed cartoon in a paper, gaining sentience and becoming aware of its automatic actions. I think that's in here. That's why I got this, I thought, or one of the reasons. Oh, look, okay, yeah. Anyway, good writer, imaginative. Look, the Cleveland Plain Dealer says he's a marvel. Looks like a pretty beautifully designed book. Okay, that's it for this bookcase. That's all the fiction in this case. And I got rid of the overflow and built it into this. And so that's it for large size fiction. Let's mix it up. I'm thinking paperback nonfiction for the next one. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for following. The numbers keep rising. It's weird. You know, we're all kind of strange people, I think. You know, yeah, that sounds like a good show. Just like some guy like pointing at books and stuff. Okay. Yeah, you know, you're all really weird, and I appreciate that. We have a no, it's cool. Books. What else? What's better to talk about than books? You know, that's a great topic. So I think that's why I can get away with this. You know. All right. Y'all take care. So yeah, and it's a great community because it's like fun to I don't know, just know that we're all out there. You know, I like that a lot. I've been watching a lot of people's videos and just really like it's neat. It's a cool wavelength. All right. Later.